Okay, so starting with the approach for the configuration, I want to look for a common element, and that would be for all of these items. Let's fly this back in. A little cooperation there. Fly this back into, we have 40 on the height, and then 50 on the other two. So that would be one approach. Let's see, we're adding that to the outside, so that could be additional geometry. Not quite doing all of those. If we overlap them, that wouldn't hurt anything. So pretty much this 40 by 10 piece is a good way to start, or at least my first guess. Alright, so if I go into the front and open up the sketch, and again, this is just a different strategy, a different way to approach and show some of the capabilities of the configurations. So we're 10 by 40, and so that makes it makes all of this this video optional. So one of the things that I can do is with the split entities, and apparently I added one up there too. So I really like my split entities. We're going to split that. And then I can either make them equal or put a separate dimension. Alright, so that doesn't help or hurt anything right now. It's just to be my default base. And we'll do an extrude. And I will stay with the midplane and the 30 millimeters to get that started. Alright, and then for the sketch, so that line, even though I split the sketch and I can see that point in the sketch, it doesn't really help or hurt anything. So one of the things, if I were to show that sketch, and all three of our configurations are going to have that common element in it. So we'll set, I gotta really find those properties and figure out where that symbol's at. Alright, so through all, and then that gives me my base to start. Alright, so at this point we'll give it a save, and I'm going to call this just the generic bracket. Each of the configurations will pick up its own. Alright, so going into the mix then, the default is just my geometry. Add configuration will be the, let's go with the L bracket first. And there wouldn't be anything wrong with, I don't really have a description that I can think of. There wouldn't be anything wrong with just going right down the line since I know what they are, adding them in, or coming back to the boss extrude and see if it will allow me to configure the feature and just go through and add the others, even though I'm not managing geometry at this point. And then once we hit enter, then it goes to the next line and I can do the Z bracket, and that's just going to add my geometry. So I'm in the L bracket. I'm ready to create those. Yeah, I guess I can do alphabetical order. So that may have been what was in the peg. I usually like to see the default at the top or the bottom. I mean, it'll just be kind of a wherever it picks up at. All right, so my geometry for the L bracket. And this is kind of a cumulative process, and we're going to have to check because at different levels as we add geometry, they may or may not suppress correctly. So on the bottom of the part, I'm going to open up a sketch and I'm just going to utilize that existing geometry. And I don't want to make this this overly complicated, so I'm going to include the holes. Alright, and that gives me the depth of 40. Need the center line. And we'll go back for the circle. and set it to 10 millimeters. And then when we create the extrude, one of the reasons that I did the split line was just to illustrate that I can go up to vertex for its height. Right, so that gives it a stopping point that is included in the first sketch and that we could drive. So if this was a full layout, I might go back and do the contour and region approach and include a 10 by 10 at the top if I needed to draw that much. And because this is an overlap, positive into a positive, it doesn't really do anything out here. I could have drawn my rectangle right to the edge and had the same effect. It's just pretty much a what you see and how you see it when you see it kind of thing. Alright, so that gives me the geometry for the L bracket. For the C bracket then, let's go this route, so that disappears. And that's not a surprise, depending on how we set. So I do want to unsuppress that geometry for the next. And because it wasn't, how do we put that? Because it was not unsuppressed, or it wasn't included in the creation of these, it's not going to be there. So if I'd come back after I'd created this, then it would add that into the next mix. Alright, so we'll open up the sketch, and pretty much, if I wanted to, I believe I can highlight sketch 3 and do a convert entities, and it finds all my geometry, and then the features. So this would have been the advantage of having that extra sketch, was to go up to vertex again. But I didn't think that far ahead, and I don't want to go back and generate it now, so we'll just put in the 10 millimeters for the height. Alright, so it gives me the C bracket, and then we can go back to the Z, and again, boss 2 and 3, I'll unsuppress. And so the opposite is true. If it included those in the next configuration, which can sometimes create errors, then I would have to go back and suppress as I go through this process. All right, so configurations are controlling dimensions and suppression states, and also if we have the display states on the colors of the items. All right, so the last one will be to create our geometry for the Z bracket. And we'll put that in, go to the dimension, pick up a center line, pick up our circle. Let's see if we can grab that existing. Alright, so can't get it right there, but if I make sure I find the edge, I can set those to equal. And then this would also, if I was doing enough, I would want to consider doing an equation for the hole sizes if there were variations. So one of the things bringing up the equations now is that I pretty much want to pick. If I'm doing configurations and I'm going to manage this out of the configurations, then I want to be careful with the equations that I don't create circular loops or cause problems with. So let's hide the sketch. And then if I, on the plate example as we go in, if I start using the design table, I definitely don't want to. Oh, got the body. Let's show the body and hide the sketch. Alright, and then we'll double check that it hit all the way through. And the L bracket. Alright, so in that case I'm just going back and hiding and showing. So in the case of the design table, I would want to control any equations out of the design table rather than setting the equations in the part. So there's a lot of logic. There's kind of a matrix decision tree going on with this this set that gives us tries to avoid some of the problematic. issues that can arise.